the hardest bit is to get it going in the beginning, so I'm just going to do that, get a bit of a conversational flow, and then you are good to go. Okay, which we still are waiting for a subject though. Has anyone got a subject they want to start off the
Life.
Yeah, what's that?
Life.
Life? That's a
like
good
the
one.
biggest conversation, right? It's about life.
Yeah, I mean, what do you want to say? That's a good one. What do you want to say about life?
How's everyone's lives
Okay.
going?
I'm going to come and join us if you want to. How's your life? That's what we're talking about at the moment. Is it good? We'll leave that one unanswered. How's your life?
It's all right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Could it be better?
I'm not moaning.
Yeah, you're not complaining?
I'm not complaining about my life.
Okay.
Thanks God is.
Yeah. Okay, Tyrone, how's your life?
It's good.
Yeah, what are the best things about it? Okay, I'm going to leave that one, Hank, because we're just, yeah, yeah.
I've got something to say about life. Life goes by so quickly. We sort of like, you blink, and all of a sudden someone that you kind of knew, like when you were in your sort of teens or 20s, is suddenly in their 80s. How did that happen? Life goes by so quickly, and it's so short, and we don't stop and savor the moment. We don't take into account how quickly life goes past us. We need to savor those good moments. We need to really.
How do we do that if it's going so quickly? Can we stop? Can we just go freeze this moment?
Anyone else? Anyone else?
Okay, how do we actually stop? Do we agree with Rona? Are we stopping to savour those moments? Can we stop and savour moments like this here when we're out on the streets?
I was I'm Margot, by the way. I saw Keanu Reeves on Instagram. Yeah, he's like, I don't know what the phenomenon of Keanu Reeves is, but apparently he's just a really nice, down-to-earth guy. And he says, not a moment goes by without me thinking about death.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, well, death is part of life. You said, like, how is life? Let's talk about life. But it's funny because life consists of death as well, and maybe that's kind of fine.
Okay, so you're talking about life, Simon, but what about death? Do we need to be thinking about death as well? Is that the way to be savouring our life, to actually be thinking about death?
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Yeah. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of Stoicism. It's an ancient philosophy that was put together by an emperor from the Roman Empire called Marcus Aurelius, and a lot of other people like Seneca and Epictetus, who was a former slave. And they developed a wonderful philosophy about, it's called Stoicism. Yeah. And it's all about remembering that we're all going to die and savouring each moment. Yeah. They even have this calendar where you count off the days that you've got left, which I think is a little teeny bit morbid. But I've got my funeral plan in place. I've got my will written. I'm in my 50s. I could live to be 90. I could live to be 61. I don't know. So yeah, remembering that death is in your future is a really good way to save a life, I think.
Okay. So remembering death is a good way to save a life. What do we think? Should we be savouring the life, and is that also about thinking about death? I'm going to involve Harry and Victor. What's that? Tyrone?
Nothing. We're going to go in a second.
Okay. Any thoughts on this side, Harry?
Sure. Yeah. So a lot of the time you see in popular media how different people with different lifespans are treated in that, and you actually see that particularly in ones which involve immortality, in that you see immortals get tired because they end up not being able to appreciate life due to the fact that they don't have that death there in place.
So if you're immortal,
yes,
we're talking about, this is in fiction, I take it.
Yeah, so it's in fiction, but it does show that there's this belief that one of the biggest things which brings appreciation to life is the fact that it does have an end, and it has like a limited time spell. Yeah, and it comes up with a bunch of other things in regards to, like, if you have too much of X, you don't appreciate it anymore. You see that in the world where you've got people with too much money, or people who have like way too much food in their society and that, and they just don't appreciate those simple things. Whereas then if you look at the people who are lacking, that's where you start seeing that appreciation coming out. So while Stoicism does have a lot of good attributes in that regard, in regards to taking into account the fact that death does exist, and hence we should be able to enjoy and appreciate the small amount of life we do have. If you do allow it to be the main thing you're thinking of every single day, that could end up leading to the opposite effect as well, where you're not
It can cloud the enjoyment.
right, because you end up enjoying less things, similar to a lot of other situations.
Okay, I'm just coming to you in a second, Rona, but we've got a new face at the table. Tell us your name.
Simon.
Simon, we've got Tyrone, we've got another Simon, we've got Sophie, we've got Rona, we've got Harry, we've got Victor, and Mikey. At the moment, we're talking about. Simon just came in with a big one. Life. Are we appreciating life? Rona was saying, are we savouring life? Do we need to be more stoic? And Harry is like, these immortals don't appreciate every day of their life. Rona.
I've got 2 words for you. Groundhog Day. If you watch that film, it deals with that subject matter. Because when Phil Connors realizes he's stuck in the same day forever, he's never going to get any older, he's never going to die, he tries to kill himself several times, and he realizes that, then he starts growing and evolving as a person.
Right, okay, so it's the film Groundhog Day, Sophie?
Well, we were just a couple of days ago, I just went to the funeral of my uncle.
Right,
He was 89 on the 3rd of June.
right, okay.
And I didn't even know he was that ill.
Right.
But it was a bit of a sad moment on that day, but I'm lucky that I managed to get there and managed to send him off.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay. Right. So you're saying you're talking about the deaf side. I mean, is there something to say about living that long? Do you think that do you feel like he appreciates it?
I think he did, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Anything on this side? Simon, yeah.
I'm just gonna say this, guys.
Yeah.
I think everyone from all of us around the world should appreciate their lives. Because let's be honest, you're living today, but you might go tomorrow, or you might get killed by someone, or you might get hit by a car. You might not survive that, right? So are we allowed to swear on this podcast?
So
Are we allowed to swear on this podcast?
we've got
Let's say
stuff
this.
to hear,
Let's say
right?
this, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's appreciate life, guys, because
Yeah.
life is hard. Money is money. You got money today, you don't have money tomorrow. You don't have money today, you got money tomorrow, guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just what I'm trying to say, guys, just love life.
Well, what about this
Love your
bonus
families.
question about savouring life? Is it about thinking about death, or is there other
We're
ways to
all,
savour life?
have been made by God, right? We're all gonna. Everyone has a book, let's say. We come, we'll come on like
Yeah.
we're alive, but everyone has a start and has an ending.
Yeah.
So this is life. You have to just appreciate life because you never know when it's your ending.
Okay.
So
we just don't know
I'm just gonna say one more thing, guys. So may God bless all of you. It's time for me to go,
Okay.
unfortunately.
I'm going to hit you with a round of applause.
And yeah, have a great time, guys.
Thanks for starting this off. Okay.
Take care, guys. Yeah.
All right. Are you off as well?
Yeah.
Final thought from you as well, Tyrone. What's the final thought?
Love life. You love life. Just say love life.
Yeah, love life.
Yeah. Do you love life?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the secret of loving life? That's the question. And yeah, I will say as well, there's no time limit on this show either. It could be 5 minutes, it could be an hour, it could be 2 hours. But you just I appreciate that moment that people are around the table as well. Appreciate the moment of life.
But you know how he said, like, you know, he said it's not about money, like, appreciate life. But I think there's double standard. I mean, I'm not talking about him personally because I don't know him, but I think there's, like, mixed messages coming out all the time. It's like, yeah, it's about the moments, about being, you know, the friendships, the this, that, and the other. But actually, what we're seeing, it actually is about money. So I think there's a bit of a lie out there. So, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I think there's, like, a double standard. Live your life, appreciate friendships, memento mori, but actually make fuckloads of cash as well.
Remember you will die. Remember you are mortal. Memento mori. Remember you are mortal.
Thank you for that, Rona. Okay, we've got a new face at the table. Tell us your name.
My name is Gosha.
Gosh, I'm going to hit you with a round of applause. We've got Simon, we've got Victor, we have got Harry, we have got Margot, we've got Rona, we've got Sophie, and I'm Mikey. At the moment, we're talking about the big subjects. We're talking about life itself. Do we appreciate life enough? What's the secret to appreciating life? Is it about the opposite? Thinking about death? Or is it about something else? Simon, you got something?
I just think for me it's very difficult to kind of work out when I'm appreciating life and when I'm not, and what the patterns are to how much I'm appreciating life.
Yeah.
So I think for me personally, like Margot said, there's a lot of conflicting emotions about how one should like enjoy life and how, you know, what metrics you judge it by. But I think I could be in a completely same circumstance from one day to another, but one day I perceive life to be brilliant and beautiful and amazing and enriching, and the other one, nothing's changed and it feels dog shit, you know? So perceptions of reality are their thing, and I don't know how to find out how to increase the better perceptions and reduce the worse perceptions.
So
It seems to be quite random.
What's out there, it's about what's in here.
To a degree, it's definitely like what's out there impacts what's in here. So they're a kind of a kind of an intermingled relationship. But yeah, it's very confusing to work out how to kind of maximise one and minimise the other, I guess.
Okay, Rona.
2 more words. Well, actually 4 words. Julian Assange is free after 14 years of torture. Now, I don't think he would have been able to survive those 14 years of torture without having the right mindset and having the support that he's had. Obviously, the support from people on the outside. But I think that, you know, if you go through a situation where you are tortured for a number of years, it's obviously going to affect your psychology. But I think that applies to life as well. If life tortures you, if you have the right mindset, you have the right psychology, more than likely. I've got a friend who's got cancer, and he's had cancer since he was 39. He's now in his 60s, and he's actually been told he's end-stage terminal. He's having his chemo. He's still performing. He's still DJing every night at a club. He's still living life.
Okay, so he's had cancer for like more than 20 years.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
And do you think he changed when he first found out that he had cancer, or
I think
evolution?
I think at first he was told, oh, you know, you're not going to survive this, and he did. And then he went into remission for a very long time. Then he got another form of cancer, went into remission again, and now this new form of cancer is called Richter syndrome, which is a really rare cancer. And I don't think, you know, they said basically, you know, you're not gonna live much longer. And he's just taking his chemo and
Just
you know,
doing it.
carrying on and living living until he dies, basically.
Okay, well, I mean, that's an inspiring story. What do other people think about this? Is it about our psychology, as Rona says?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a valid point, but I'd say that the ability to have the right mindset is also very dependent on who you are and what your circumstances are, right? So how does one change to have the right mindset? Like, it's not as easy as just kind of trying to flip out what you
Maybe this guy
think
knows.
and feel.
How do you have the
Exercise.
how do you have the right mindset to life? Go to the gym. Come and tell us about it. Come on, we'll give you a round of applause. Tell us your name.
Hi, my name's Jack. I work at the Aberfeldy boxing gym, and I feel like boxing helps a lot, mentally, physically, and everything really. So.
How and why does it help? Why is like hitting things or hitting people help you with your psychology?
Because instead of going out on the street and taking your anger out in there, you could take your anger out on a bag, learn how to defend yourself because the streets now are not safe.
Okay, so you've got a feeling of security, but also you've got that sense of like taking out that anger.
Yeah, take out the anger. If you're taking it out in here and then you go out and someone annoys you, you ain't going to be as angry as you was before.
Okay.
See, there's no point in it, so yeah.
Okay, well, thanks for that, Jack.
No worries.
If you want to make any further comments, feel free to come forwards. Gosha, any thoughts on this? Do you get angry? Do you need to take it out on people or things?
Yeah, I do actually get angry quite often. But for me, long walks are a good thing. And also going to the seaside and having like a long walk along the sea. And then I can get like a distance when I see the sea and the waves. And then I think it's for millions of years, you know, like this. The waves, the tides come low, high. And then you just feel like this is really like what you're angry about. It's just like really small thing.
Okay.
Comparing to the.
So you get a kind of sense of scale from this huge the movements of the sea.
I think going back to emotional outlets, boxing is a really good emotional outlet for people. I'm just thinking about the late American actor Christopher Reeve. Acting was his emotional outlet. He was raised to be, his father was called Franklin Delano Reeve, and he was named after the President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And they were all raised to be perfect. They were all raised to be like really meet the highest standard. And he had a brother called Benjamin. Benjamin Reeve didn't have acting. He didn't have any emotional outlets. And he took his own life. Because he didn't have an emotional outlet and because of that pressure to be perfect but that put on him by his parents. So yeah, I think emotional outlets are absolutely vital.
Okay, so we do need an emotional outlet. And we know Jack's emotional outlet is the gym and boxing. What are other people's emotional outlets? Do other people have emotional? We've got your one, Gosha. It's the sea. Emotional outlet. Simon, maybe that's it. Do you have an emotional outlet?
I think I don't spend enough time thinking about it and trying to figure out what mine are. That's an issue. Really
Is
like
it a
walking
question
in.
of just trying different things?
Yeah, of course, but then you need to be in the circumstance to do that and to have the inclination to do it, right? And sometimes people do and sometimes they don't. So I like walking in the forest, which I'm going to do next week, and that will make a big difference. Yeah. You got a tree button on there. So I think that's definitely a big outlet for me. I like going to the cinema, that really chills me out as well. But I think stress and strain can come so readily to certain people at certain times that you might not have one of those outlets immediately available to you.
You have it to hand as well. It's not just a good.
Yeah, the ability to do so.
Yeah, like it's quite a journey to go to the sea. You might not have it to hand when you need it. Do you have an emotional outlet, Victor?
Getting out of my head is the best emotional outlet, and moving around.
Yeah.
That's it.
Moving.
Don't sit, don't overthink everything, and just do it like Nike.
Yeah. Okay. Just do it like Nike. Harry, emotional outlet. Yeah. Do you have an emotional outlet?
So personally, no, but I think one of the key things you see around when people are discussing different emotional outlets, it's usually something which allows you to kind of focus your mind onto particular things, right? And you were saying earlier about one day you could have a really good day and the next day, same circumstances, it could feel really bad. And in some ways, that's part of appreciating life, because if everything was always good all the time, if you think about like a roller coaster, if you're always at the top of the lift hill, there's not going to be those feelings of like motion and that. And it's kind of a big thing to be able to accept both the good and the bad, but also finding ways and avenues to find good in bad, right? And I think that's what a lot of emotional outlets do for people. It's a chance for them to kind of focus their mind onto a positive experience or onto particular things. So that could be the motion of the waves, it could be going out playing a game of some kind, it could be boxing. It's very much like a form of meditation for people, right? And it's a way to distract yourself from the things which are affecting your life. You always have like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where you've got like these individualistic needs and you need to fulfill them before you can carry on up, right? And like a lot of emotional outlets, when people talk about them, are a way to be able to ignore those base level needs.
Right. So it's about climbing up the ladder.
Well, in some ways it's a way to remove the bottom rungs of the ladder, right? In regards to you're getting rid of the need to focus on those like base instinctual needs. So that would be food, shelter. There's a lot of stuff in Maslow's like pyramid thing. And it's just a way to kind of like remove those rungs so that you can kind of skip them as opposed to climbing up it per se.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna just because I've not done very much of the round of applause, but I'm not putting this as a hierarchy of comments, but I just thought it's about time I exercised my finger. What's your emotional outlet?
I was thinking about it because I think the emotional outlet.
Yeah.
As we were discussing it, like in my head, I'm thinking: is it like actively doing something to emotionally let go, or is it actually not doing stuff? Because I find the not doing very hard, just because I always feel like I have to be doing something, I have to be productive or creative and stuff. And actually, reading a book is something that I find increasingly hard to do. But when I do it, I really enjoy it because
Why is reading harder, would you say?
Because I think I'm always distracted by my phone and by all these kind of like pesky thoughts of like, I should be doing something that is, I don't know, bringing in money or has got some kind of, I don't know, I can get some sense of achievement from it. It's useful somehow. And I think, so doing less and being able to just, chill out is that's how I emotionally. What did you say? Regulate? No,
emotionally.
It's
an outlet. But
outlet.
I mean, as
maybe
you know
reading.
from
Maybe I'll say reading.
Because you've been here before. You decide yourself what you want to say. That's just it's a stepping stone to the direction of the conversation. Ronan.
Yeah, I just want to come back to what Margot was saying about feeling guilty when you're reading a book and when you're having downtime. You can't you can't actually pour from an empty cup. So you need times to self-care and to fill those cup up, but you also need to choose those moments when you have no other options. So, for example, if you're in a situation where you've done some voluntary work, you've done some paid work, you have signed a few petitions, you've done this, that, and the other, you've done like a million things that day. It's the end of the day, you know. Maybe you're sort of like winding down. Maybe it's about, I don't know, 11 at night, I don't know, whenever you go to bed. Then you pick up a book, maybe read for maybe 15 minutes. Just give yourself that 15 minutes of, because you can't really do any voluntary work at 11, 15 at night. You know, choose your moments to, yeah.
I mean, is that what people are doing at the end of the day? Are they reading a book at the end of the day to chill down? Anyway, Simon, I'm sorry, Sophie, you wanted to say?
Just before the week prior to what I said about going to the funeral, I went away with the local church where I'm. And it was like a weekend away, so you're away from London, you've got all that quietness. It's just beautiful. And I enjoy it because it's a piece of somewhere where you can just...
Did you go?
I went to near Sevenoaks.
Right, okay.
It's just a peaceful place.
Yeah.
You
Was
just
it like a park or?
No, it's an old manor house.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So that was your emotional outlet.
Yeah, it's you just shut away from the whole of what's gone on around in London, and that's it. Just leave it. And you just get your own piece of space. You're with the church family, and that's it.
Okay. Simon.
Yeah, actually, just a question to the group based on Sophie's point there, really.
Yeah.
Like, do you think it's possible to get the levels of chill and relaxation in London? I was chatting to somebody about this earlier on. I'm born and raised around here, stone's throw away. But
Was
certainly...
there a lot of stones being thrown?
yeah, quite a lot. Less said about that, the better.
Yeah.
Not recorded. But basically, whenever I go outside of town for a decent amount of time, I do feel a lot more relaxed, and I can feel the stress levels building back up as I come back into London. And you learn to kind of ignore it and just normalise it. But I'm not sure whether it's... I feel like it might be better for me to not be so hypersensitive. What's the word I'm looking for? No, like
Vigilant.
hyperstimulated all the time, right? All the time in London. I wonder whether it would be a benefit to not be in such a intense environment for some of the time.
Goshen was talking about going to the seaside. You were talking about going to Sevenoaks. So there's definitely a thing, isn't it, to actually just get out of that environment. How much of an effect does it have? What about other people? Do you go to the countryside, Harry?
So, I enjoy the countryside, but as someone who's not born and raised in London, I feel like I can add some stuff to that. Generally, I don't think that it's particularly like London itself is overstimulating, but if you're someone who works in London or lives in London, right, that is the place which has a lot of memories or feelings associated with your general day-to-day life. And you can't escape by staying in the same place, right? And so a lot of the time it's more... a lot of the time it's more getting away from somewhere. And like I know plenty of people who come down to London, for example, from like a small town or from like a countryside area as their escape, because they find that significant enough difference from where they're from and where they do their work or where they do X, Y, and Z. And that brings along with it like a lot of interesting thoughts about that separation between these kind of physical locations where you are doing things. And, you know, you could bring that up into then the conversation about working from home, stuff like that. Is working from home actually a healthy thing to do due to the fact that you're now combining your kind of social, non-working life areas with your actual physical working locations? For some people that works, some people can actually do that. Generally that involves them having like a office space in their house which they barely ever go into, so that's how they build that kind of physical separation. But it's an interesting one of like, I do think it's more separating yourself from your everyday environment as opposed to it being London being overstimulated.
Okay, that's a really good point. Is it just about going to a different space that's less meaningful? Come and join us. We're talking about what is your emotional outlet. But we're gonna... Yeah. Does everyone have emotions? Do we all need an emotional outlet? Were you pointing at... What's that? Sophie, what have you got a point?
Well, but when I was at the weekend away with the church, it gave me that kind of peace, just for the build up for the funeral, what recently happened. So it gave me that kind of what they call it, chill down time. before the build-up to the big day for the funeral. That's what it was all for. That's why I done it. That's why I went on that weekend away, just to get myself ready to face the sad side of stuff.
Yeah, okay. So it's just allowed to chill a little bit. Okay, what we might do, talking about an emotional outlet, this may be your emotional outlet, Rona. Sitting in the middle of a table, talking to people. It's certainly my emotional outlet. Are you ready to have a go in the middle?
I've been ready since 6 o'clock.
Okay, all right.
Okay. If I get tangled up, oh. Okay, where were we? We're talking about emotional outlets. We're talking about those things that we need in order to help us loosen up and you know, kind of enjoy our lives a little bit more, and so we don't get so tense. If anyone's walking past, do come and join us. It's a pop-up talk show. It's Talkaoke, ladies and gentlemen. Step up, step up, step up. Okay, emotional outlets. I think we've covered that subject, haven't we? I think we've asked everyone. Oh, we didn't ask you, did we? We didn't ask you. What's your emotional outlet?
Well, for me, it's definitely dance. I love to dance, and it just gives me a chance for my body just to do whatever it does. I love exploring the different shapes a body can make, and just dance to the rhythm, just expressing yourself. For me, it's vital, and if I don't dance for a few days, then I get a little bit frustrated.
Yeah, dancing is a really good physical way of loosening up your emotions and expressing yourself. We've all got our different ways of expressing ourselves. Okay, I think we have actually talked about. You've actually contributed, haven't you? But you've got your hand up. Yep. You've got your hand up, Margot. I think we all know each other. We've all exchanged names at the table. Margot's got a hand up.
Thank you. I was just wondering about dancing. Are people around the table generally dancers? I'm just curious because some people are clearly the dancing types and some are not. So who is a dancing type?
Who's the dancer here? Beside you, who is the dancer? Oh, what kind of dancing do you do?
I love dancing just, for fun. So just go with friends and dance like two types actually. One is just going and dance for fun and be, silly. And one is going to clubs with but then it's more solitary and you are in your head and just making micro movements,
So you dance in the clubs, but do you do any kind of ballet or jazz dancing or anything like that, or?
When I was a child, I was dancing. I was I don't know why I was into this, but I was in this dancing, what's the name? I'm sorry, can I say in Polish? Ask Margot. Taniec towarzyski.
It's I don't know, it's like ballroom dancing or something. It's with couples, in pairs, you dance. Yeah, ballroom dancing. Yeah. That's what you did.
I was doing that when I was 14 years old, but then it was just for 1 year, and then I thought no, what a stupid idea, and I dropped it.
So you were strictly ballroom for a while?
Yeah.
Okay. What other types of physical stuff do people like to do? I mean, we talked about boxing, we talked about dancing. Come and join us, come and join us, come and join us. It's my first time in the donut. My first time in the donut as a disabled person. I crawled under the table. What is your name, sir?
It's Akbel.
Akmel. Hello, Akmel. Round of applause for Akmel. We have Margot, we have Sophie, we have Harry, we have Simon, we have a lady whose name I can't remember. Russia! And we have, what's your name?
Mikey.
Mikey, and I'm Rona, and this is my first time in the donut, trying to talk about different subjects as and when they come up. We started talking about emotions and savoring moments in life, and then we started talking about emotional outlets, things that we do that give us pleasure, that give us joy, that release our emotional uptightness. And then we found out that Mikey's a dancer, and then we started finding out that other people like dancing as well, and you're strictly ballroom. Do you have an emotional outlet, and if so, what is it?
Don't know. I think I shout at YouTube and the television quite a lot, and the radio. That's my outlet.
Okay, you shout at things that can't shout back.
Exactly.
Okay.
What kind of things are you shouting?
Oh, mostly how stupid people are, how idiotic, and why can't you just tell the truth?
Yeah, I know that feeling. I know that feeling, but what we've got here is a failure to, shall we say, cultivate the more critical sort of thoughts. What about you, Sophie? Do you ever get annoyed by television or YouTube and people who lie?
No,
Okay, what's your secret for not getting annoyed?
just ignore them. Just ignore people.
Ignoring people. We have a new person. We have a new person coming to join our little pop-up talk show. And as soon as you get yourself settled, we are going to ask your name and introduce you round. Okay, new person, what is your name?
My name's Kim. Hello.
This is Kim, everybody. Kim, and we have Margot, we have Mikey, we have... Pardon? Adbal. We have Gosha and Sophie and Simon, and my name is Rona. And you are chatting away to each other, which is great because we want to talk to each other and Talkaoke, and Margot has something to say.
When you were saying about ignoring people or stupid people or whatever, I think on a dance floor you can't really ignore people. I think once you're on a dance floor, everyone is like more exposed than like in normal life. You can't really hide because every movement you make, people see. I'm not saying people will judge. I mean, some people will judge, but you know, every movement, non-verbal, is communicating something, and that's why I really love dance floors, because it's a different way of interacting with people and what people are actually communicating without words.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. But we were talking about ignoring things on YouTube and ignoring people who lie. So we're talking. I can't remember your name. Sorry, I have memory problems actually. What's your name again? Kim. Well, Kim, we were talking about dancing and we were talking about emotional outlets because there's a boxing club next door. So we were talking about how boxing can actually kind of be an emotional outlet for your pent up anger and frustration. And then we talked about other emotional outlets, and then we got onto dancing, and then we got onto shouting on YouTube, and again, shouting at the telly and shouting at YouTube. Do you have an emotional outlet, and if so, what is it?
I have many emotional outlets. Today I had an emotional outlet. I threw a bucket of water down the stairs to deter teenagers hanging out my flat.
Wow, that's pretty. Well, that's good. That's good. What do we think about that?
Well, I was more thinking about the thing about shouting on YouTube, because I know that we generally put these videos up on YouTube. We haven't put the last couple up. But I'm wondering if people shout at these videos, and what would they be shouting? Would people actually shout at us? I never even thought about it before until now. Well, maybe they're shouting, "Oh, you stupid person!" Yeah, maybe they are shouting. By the way, if you are watching this on YouTube, just write it in the comments what you're shouting. I would like to know. Maybe, I don't know. I never even thought about it until now.
YouTube is an outlet for people who want to express their opinions. No doubt about that. What do we think about expressing your opinions? Obviously, we're all here on this pop-up chat show. Good evening, YouTube. And we're all kind of not backward in coming forward in terms of expressing our opinions, but is it truthful? Is it kind? That's that thing. We mentioned stoicism earlier, and so that sort of like little barrier you put on yourself. Is what I'm saying truthful? Is what I'm saying kind? Most people don't necessarily have that barrier, but you want to say something.
Well, actually, weirdly, I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos about stupidity, just to trying to get. There's a lot on there because it's sort of like taps into people's kind of, because people are always going on you're stupid, so it's about like why are people stupid and why in a way stupid people are actually more successful than non-stupid people.
Well, what do we think of that description about stupid people? What, I mean, stupid is it's kind of a pejorative word, isn't it? What do we think, Harry? Oh, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I had a point 3 points ago, but stupidity, what was the definition of stupidity though? Like, how did they what metrics do they use to decide what constitutes stupid? Because it's quite a big kind of thing, right? I feel like there's a lot of different types of stupidity. I think personally, writing kind of aggressive comments on YouTube videos is maybe a slight form of stupidity, but at the same time, I'm sure there's a lot of different ways to define that, right? So, what did you find from the videos?
Well, I mean, different people had different takes on stupidity. I don't think there is one definition, and I think you're right, Rona. It is almost like you call people stupid who you don't agree with, or you think they're missing some vital piece of information. The economists have got a particular definition of stupid, which is people that neither contribute to the economy or contribute to society, but they also kind of don't, they're not necessarily taking out of society either. They're just there. In a way, economically, the economists were saying the stupid people are the ones that have no relationship with the economy.
That would mean, because the flat Earth thing has become economically much more active, would that mean that flat earthers are less stupid now than they were when there was no money to be made out of it?
That's a new face over there.
A new face over here. Okay, we are doing a little pop-up chat show, Talkaoke. What is your name, sir?
Arthur.
Pardon?
Arthur, like the king.
Arthur like the king. Yes, well, we welcome you with a round of applause. This is Simon. This is Gotcha. This is Mikey. This is Akbal, Kim, Harry, Margot, and Sophie, and I am Rona, your hostess for the evening. I'm a trial hostess for the evening. We are talking about stupidity, or what is stupidity? How do we define stupidity? Do you have any thoughts on that?
No, it's beyond me, maybe.
Yeah. Fair enough, Arthur, fair enough. Because I just think that it's one of those pejorative words that teachers use or parents use to put people down and to make you feel that you are less than. And Margot has something to say.
I'm trying to link it to stupidity, but I can't. But maybe I can. So we got given a lot of free food tonight. So if anybody wants like a tuna sandwich or like a falafel. Yeah, there's things that you can heat up in the microwave. I think they're vegetarian. You're welcome to have it. But was it stupid that Mikey actually bought his sandwich earlier?
And very stupid that I actually ate before I got here.
I mean, I don't consider myself stupid, but I do it. This being one, I don't know if this was one of the stupid things or not, but I do a lot of stupid things. I think stupid is not necessarily a person. It's like an action that you regret later, maybe.
A foolish and silly mistake. What are we thinking?
I think stupid, the word stupid's been taken out of the dictionary, hasn't it? Nobody uses that word anymore, or they try not to anyway. There must be other words instead of.
Intellectually challenged? Maybe? No, I think it's one of those pejorative words that we are trying to phase out, but not quite done that. What do we think about words that should be phased out? Do you have any opinions on words that should be phased out, Simon?
Give me a couple of minutes. Come back to me. I'll figure something out.
Okay.
You know what I like? I'm very much like a inclusive person. I don't think we should phase out any words. I think we should add more and more extra new words. Rather than phase out words, I think it's just about creating a new word. Like, for example, maybe there should be a word for people that just believe everything they see on social media without questioning it. But not stupid, but a new word.
There's a word beginning with G and ending with gullible. What were you going to say?
I was just saying there is a word for that. It's gullible. But So stupidity, I believe the definition is something along the lines of they take action without due thought about the process, right? So a lot of it is not necessarily, but by definition, it is something to do with an action, or is a very subjective thing. In regards to something which would be viewed as stupid in one regard, would not be viewed as stupid in another. You could take, for example, bartering in a store, right? A lot of people, if you go to some countries around the world, if you don't barter the price of what you're buying, you're an idiot. Whereas in other countries, for example over here, if you went into a supermarket and you tried to barter down the price, a lot of people would view you as an idiot, or as that being a stupid act, right? So it is a very subjective process, and you can't say that one thing is stupid or not, because different situations require different thought.
I saw a hand over here.
I think what you're talking about is haggling, not bartering. Bartering is where you go with a sheep and say, "I'll swap that sheep for some sheaves of wheat."
In some countries,
yeah. Well, that's bartering too. But I read a book that said that bartering is actually it's not a stupid way of exchange. It's actually more sophisticated than using money, because it gets very complicated. But anyway, over to you, Rona.
I wonder if the idea of stupidity being related to an action isn't necessarily always the case. I've got an issue right now where we've got I'm reading through a strategic plan, and it's stupid because it just does not need to be 56 pages long. It could be done in 1 page, most likely, and it's neither a plan or very strategic. It's just a kind of ambition list. So I'd say that was stupid. Yeah, absolutely waste of paper. Well, mind you, it was all digital, but it probably has been printed somewhere. But I don't know if it's an action. I think it's an inaction in that case. There's nothing happening.
But is that maybe just your opinion of the paper? Maybe other people might feel that the paper has some merit and value.
I'm not sure I've met anybody yet. That's right.
What do we think about things that have no merit and value in our eyes? Do we think that maybe other people might see merit and value in things that people just maybe discard? I mean, I heard somebody mention the economically inactive, and I know a lot of disabled people who are economically inactive, but they have plenty of merit and value.
Indeed. And this kind of comes back to those words that should be gotten rid of as well, right? Like, we don't need to actively put things away for them to kind of stop happening and existing, right? Like, words will fall out of use, and if we don't like the word utilize, then don't use it. Like, if we don't want this strategic plan to exist, maybe okay, that might need some more active opposition to stop it from existing or to improve it. But we get to respond to the world. The world is there, and there's other people responding to it too, and we kind of need to do that together.
Responding to the world. What do we think about responding to the world? I saw your hand first.
Well, I just want to come up to the point of economically inactive, because currently we're doing a project with young disabled people in Newham that they're finding it very, very hard to actually get employed. And it's almost like a sort of self-fulfilling prophecy that the perception of disabled people is that they can't do anything. And so they're kind of stuck in a sort of like cycle where it's hard to know really, because we've only just started this project, but it seems like employers don't really trust disabled people to do the jobs they want to do, or they don't want to take the risk. So it's not by choice that they're economically inactive whatsoever, but it's almost like by hook or by crook, the economic side just seems to be so important.
See me afterwards, I might be able to help you. Seriously. As a disabled person who has 4 jobs, I might be able to help you. We'll have a chat. Yes.
Yeah. With regards to that, and people that are discriminated against by employers, from my background, my family's background, that happened as well. Except rather than continue to look for work, they've made work. So they set up their own businesses and developed businesses that they were employed in themselves. Maybe it's just a matter of changing that thought pattern rather than saying, right, I've got to be employed by somebody. No, I will employ people and I will create some kind of business. And it's just, I think, when immigrants find themselves in places, regardless of their background or where they are, they find an opportunity because they're not naturally going to be able to find easy work because they will be discriminated against.
What do we think about immigrants coming and finding their work and contributing to the economy? Is it a good thing, bad thing? Your hand was up.
Oh, I actually just wanted to say that about opening your own business, that you need to have a specific mindset as well, and skills, because it's difficult to run your own business. You can, it's also.
I'm just going to say no. I think it comes down to desperation. And if you are desperate enough, you will do it and you will find any opportunity. My dad started off selling ties door to door because he could. That was the only thing available to him. He could go and buy them wholesale and then he would sell them. And then he developed the business himself and so on and so on and so on. And it isn't, you've got to have certain sets of skills. He can speak the language. He didn't have, he was numerate, but illiterate. It comes down to how desperate are you to do it, I think.
I just want to say, we were talking about disabled, and then obviously it got bypassed, which seems to be the natural form, really, when there is the word disability comes up. I've worked with many children that have got disabled, and yes, they are supported, and yes, they have a fight in them. But believe me, when you're an adult and you've got a disability and you're fighting the system all the time and you're trying to get on in the normal world, because quite a lot of people want to be in the normal world even though you've got a disability, they just feel that it would be nice maybe for normal people, in brackets, to maybe be a bit more educated in the field of disablement, and just take it on board.
Speaking as a disabled person here, did anyone back here wanted to say something?
This is on the last point before that. We've been a few points tonight where we've talked about changing one's mind and changing one's circumstance. With all due respect to your dad who succeeded, I strongly disagree that it just takes desperation. I think it takes an intangible amount of different factors that are all far too complicated for us to understand. Because if we get down the avenue of if you didn't care about it enough, if you're not desperate enough, you don't do it, then it means that there are people out there in incredibly difficult circumstances that just didn't want it enough, weren't desperate enough. And I think there's a lot of desperate people that don't have the opportunity whatsoever to change the brutal circumstances they were in. And the people that are able to change those circumstances should definitely be celebrated. It's an amazing thing to have done. But at the same time, it the inverse of that kind of idea about that is that there's people out there that either aren't desperate enough or aren't trying hard enough, and I think it's almost impossible to change your circumstances in a lot of scenarios.
Massive round of applause from me for that. Okay, what do we think about that, Harry?
Sure. So, one thing I would, let's go back to this response about starting up your own business and that. Do you think that it has become particularly harder to do that? So you mentioned about your dad went around selling tires, and my granddad, he had his van. He died a few years ago, and we found so many tires or car wheels which he brought wholesale and was selling and all of this, and he was very much an odd job man. And that was easy back in the day. But do you think that as the world has changed, as we've seen this rise of online internet usage, this rise of like a bunch of factors in the world, whether that is no longer the case. Because if the argument is, if you're desperate enough, you can start your own business, where is the limiting factor then? So like, let's say everybody in the world was desperate enough to start their own business, right? Obviously not necessarily true, but we take it to the extremes to encourage a discussion, right? So we go, hey, what if everybody in the world wanted to start their own business and they all were desperate enough to that? Obviously that would not work. So where does then the limiting factor come from? Is it from, there can only be so many kind of actual self-employed or bosses in the world, and you need people to support that? And then the question is, okay, so for people who are disabled or the like, is a key part about that creating jobs or thinking about jobs in different ways such that people who may not necessarily be able to work the current set of jobs or are viewed as being not particularly as good at them, whether we can change our thought processes of the employers to then encourage them and give them a space to work?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you want to know the answer to that, stick around for our conversation later. Mikey, your hand was up.
No, I just think I think in a way everyone could have their own business. I mean, that probably it sounds like a very for a socialist it sounds like a very like right-wing kind of thing to say, but in a way I don't think there's a limit to the number of businesses that can be had, or that I think there is a sort of certain level of self-autonomy that running your own business has. I mean, to a certain extent, I had started my own business because I was too disabled to actually do a job in terms of being very good at filling out forms. So, I mean, you know, it wasn't. I didn't feel like I was forced to do it, but it was a much more successful avenue for me just to start your own business where you didn't have to fit into a box. So I do think there is something in what Akbar was saying, but at the same time, going back to these young people, we were trying to sort of visualize what kind of jobs they wanted to do, and pretty much all of them didn't want to be self-starters. They wanted to do a job where somebody else kind of told them what to do, and they were working as more of a team, which I found interesting. Because I wanted them to all start their own businesses, but they didn't really want to do that. Potential new customers.
Yes, would you like to say something, Rusha?
Yeah, I wanted to ask about what do you think about basic income for everyone, so that we have some people, so then there's no pressure, no desperation. People have their dignity, and they don't have to be pushed to do things that they don't want to. There are like this utopian visions. Maybe it's gonna happen in some time in the future that we're all gonna have basic income.
We have a new person at the table. This is Talkaoke, the pop-up chat show. A round of applause for our new person. Your name is, please?
Jessica.
Jessica, this is Arthur, this is Sophie, this is Brusha, this is Mikey, this is Margot. Simon is just leaving, Kim, Harry, and I can't remember your name, I'm so sorry. Akbal. I will remember it by the end of the evening, I promise you. Final thought from Simon, here we go.
Press games me into it, you know, so you've got to follow suit, runner. I really enjoyed that last bit of the conversation. I think it's fascinating. I think it's really worth figuring out, are people limited in the actions they can take? Is there such a thing as choosing free will, or are we all determined to kind of live the lives that we lead? Pray do discuss. Enjoy your evenings.
So, what do we all think about that? What do you think about that?
About what?
About what he just said, about do we have free will, or is our will determined by an inaccessible society?
No, I think everybody should have like free will to say whatever they want, like everybody entitled to their opinion. So.
Your hand is up.
Yeah, I just think a lot of it is about people's expectations, and I think the combined expectations of people judging you, what they expect to come from you, in a way frames what you think you can do or what is possible. It's really, really hard to bust out of that expectation, I think. And the older I get, the more I notice that happening, but it's a very subtle process.
Yeah, just as a side note, I'm a professional singer, and my youth I got told, you're too dumpy looking to be a singer. You don't have the right looks to be a singer. You shouldn't be a singer. But I'm a singer. Anyway, your hand was up.
So, just to go back to the basic income, universal basic income, I think that again that provides people with opportunities, and I don't see. I mean, so if you are minded to build a business or do something with that money, you can do that. If you already have a business, you can invest that money into your business and develop it. So that there are opportunities that arise from having that universal basic income. You will have people that will quite happily sit there and do nothing all day, and that works. But the other economically active portions will just naturally want to achieve more, you know.
Yeah, and there would be no pressure on people that I work and I don't. Some other people get like benefits, but everyone gets this. And then if someone wants, of course they can do as much as they want. They can be super active entrepreneurs, successful. But some people maybe they can develop more creative way. Maybe they want to read books. Maybe they want to write. Maybe they want to write poetry. And they are imagine society where you are allowed to do this. That you don't have to be entrepreneur all the time and successful businessman. You know.
So we're talking about universal basic income as opposed to universal credit, which has conditionality associated with it. Margot.
I think I agree with what you're saying, Gosh. I missed a little bit of the conversation because we were chatting on the side, but and the reason why we kind of you came down because we were talking about how do disabled people find themselves in this kind of like, I don't know, work market. How do they, do they have freedom to choose the jobs? I wonder from what you were saying, working with young people, and is it about the mindset? So I don't know if Jessica, at any point you want to kind of throw in something about that. But I would love to really live in a world where, being creative is not seen as some kind of whimsy on the side. That is contributing something to society, and it's equally treated as that, because I was listening to a Polish radio last night. I'm from Poland, and they were talking about work ethos and why do young people live with their parents for such a long time till they're 34 or whatever, and what's happening. This dude rang up and he was like, oh yeah, people just don't know how to work. When I was young, I was working all the time and my parents were working all the time. The only time you should go on holidays is if you worked a lot, and then you deserve holiday. You can only rest to get more strength for work. And I just thought that sounds like fucking awful, but that is the mentality. I think work has just been elevated to this amazing thing. I don't know.
I only found this out a few days ago, to be honest. But work it all came in with the Industrial Revolution. Before that, people worked at home. They worked in the fields. They worked when they wanted to. There was no time frame, 9 to 5. All that came in really recently. Just the thought about that. Your hand is up.
Yeah. So with regards to the creativity, and I'm sure that there will be lots of people that are going to use the time to read and to be creative and to paint and sculpt and all sorts of things. But I think there will be quite a lot of people that will do fuck all day and enjoy nothing, just experience. I could quite happily doom scroll all day. If I wasn't working, didn't have things to do, I would happily be on YouTube just watching shit all day long. And I don't know if, clearly it's an evil in this world, but it is something some people are minded to do nothing quite a lot of the time.
People are minded to do nothing. What do we think about that?
I don't want to talk but I was just thinking that we want to do nothing because we are forced all the time to do something, and so this is some kind of rebellion, that just do nothing. But we cannot even imagine society where we have basic income and we then are allowed to do what we want, and then we don't know what kind, because I believe everyone is creative, everyone has some talents to develop, and then we're going to have time, so we have no idea how the society would look like.
I just started a new job recently. My boss told me, "Why haven't you taken a break? You're working. Why haven't you taken a break? You know, because your mindset is you want to prove what a great worker you are, so you haven't taken a break. Take a break." Anyway, I saw a hand.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really believe you, Akbal, because I know, knowing you a little bit, I know that you've got enough money to not actually work, but you are working all the time, and I think, yeah, I would like to see that experiment. How long you could last with just YouTube? I don't really think you would. Yeah.
How long can we last with YouTube? Arthur, you haven't said much about this.
Like, not very long at all. I think, like, most people, when they are given the choice, will do something. And maybe that is, like, a ton of research on YouTube before actually going out the door and getting something done, so to speak, right? But, like, everyone's got their own drive, and, like, their own needs, their own desires to fulfill. And that, like, there isn't a space for the full range of those in the way society is structured right now, with the requirement to work and the need for money, the difficulty of remaining housed and fed and clothed. So like we don't get that scope.
Well, we had somebody leaving without giving a final thought, but I guess that's perfectly okay. I'm new to this. Yes.
So there was a bit of an experiment that was done in 2020 where people were sitting at home and doing nothing. And yeah, I'll be honest, yeah, I went completely fucking mental. After about, I don't know, about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I could not handle it. And I mean, I was really lucky. I could go back to work after 2 or 3 weeks. And I did a bit of work for Public Health England and bits and bobs and whatever. And I could read and I could watch movies and I could do all of the creative things I wanted to do. I didn't really do any of those. And just kind of sat there contemplating the end of the world. And it was terrible. It was awful. And I am glad that I work and I am glad that I have things to do. And I think I, in some respects, I believe a universal basic income would help motivate people. And I'm a big Star Trek fan, and I think it's wonderful, this idea of no scarcity in the world, right? And you get everything, and nobody has to fight over it. It would be interesting to see it happen anywhere in the world at some point, but I don't know if it'll ever happen.
Star Trek, Gene Roddenberry has said in interviews that he based it on a kind of a modern day version of Utopia, his own version of Utopia. Margot.
I'm thinking about this being creative and in the end doing nothing. I think you need other people to be creative, because I remember when I was working in a cafe for way too long in my life. I always say it because it's true. And then one day I walked into my job and I was like, I can't take it anymore. I can't take it anymore. And the same day I quit. And then I thought, oh well, great. I'm just going to sign on. I'm going to get job seekers allowance. I'm just going to figure out what I want to do. But at least now I'll have time to do my vocal warm-ups, because I study as an actor. And that's a completely wrong sound effect for the type of training I got. But anyway, but yeah, so I thought I'm just going to be very disciplined. I'm just going to go back and do the things that I just wasn't doing because I was at this stupid cafe job, which I hated. And then I didn't do any of those things, because I think the best way of doing things is when you are with other people, when you've got a project, when you're working on something. Because like we were working on stuff, but if it wasn't, I feel like if it wasn't for the open mic night, some people just would never stand up and prepare their story, rehearse the stuff. You need to kind of build a platform, create an opportunity for people to come together and be creative together. Creative on your own is very, very hard. And then you can't do it and you feel bad about yourself and stuff.
We have a new person at the table, ladies and gentlemen. Can we give this man a round of applause? Welcome to Talkaoke, the pop-up talk show. My name is Rona Topaz and I'm your host. This is my audition because I've never done this before and this is the first time I've done it. What is your name, sir?
My name is Tom.
Tom. Okay, that's an easy name to remember. I actually have problems with my memory, so I'm going to see if I can remember most of your names. If I forget your name, it is not personal, I promise you. Sophie Arthur, Mikey, Brusha, Akbal, Margot, Kim, and Harry, and my name is Rona. We are talking about universal basic income and having that space to be creative. Would we be creative if there was a universal basic income in this country? It's been trialled in Wales, it's been trialled in Ireland, but it hasn't been trialled in England. I can give a few reasons why, but I'm not supposed to share my opinions because I'm the host. So, what do we think about a universal basic income as opposed to a universal credit, which is actually contingent on your ability to work or not work, or if you don't look for work, you don't get it and you get sanctioned? What do we think about it?
The first thing I think that's going to happen if it comes in is I think the crime rate is going to just plummet, you know, because if people have got enough, I think we'll see the end of criminals. And I think that's shocking in a way for the way how people treat criminals now, because I believe that 99% of crime is just people who are too hard up to do anything else, you know.
What do we think?
I mean, I definitely agree with you. I mean, I think they did an experiment in Finland, and they regarded it as a failure because the amount of people in work, they thought if we give everyone money, then they'll be more motivated. But they found out that people were just working just the same as they were before. But what they did find is people's mental health just was so much better because they weren't anxious about where am I going to get the next, whatever they have, euro from in Finland. So I think it was worth it. I think it was a big success. But it was kind of like, well, not more people are not working, so it's not that great an outcome. But I think it's great. If people's mental health is better, surely, I mean, we live in a time when mental health is really a big, big problem in this society.
I love my work. I'm very unique in that respect. Tim wants to say something.
Talking about universal credit. No, I'm in between jobs. There are many things that creatively that I want to do. I haven't done them. As Margot said, you do need an umbrella of people around you, which is always positive. And mental health, yes, well, I thought I was, the bee's knees when I was working. I was going to work, doing socialing, going out, didn't think about it. But now I'm not working. It's a different kettle of fish altogether. You have more time on your hands, even though you want to do things. You do things. But I've stopped going out socially. I've stopped, there are many things that I've stopped doing, which is ridiculous, really. But and it is a frame of mind. When you're working, you're doing, you feel needed, you feel, like you're learning all the time as well. Even though when you're not working, you can be learning, but it's not the same. It's just not the same niche. And you're socialising, you're seeing other people, and and you're doing more and more things, and then you have more energy. Because believe me, I've never sat down so much in my life.
Could not agree more. What do we think about working, giving us more energy and more life? What do we think? Anyone have any ideas? Ooh, I see a thumbs down here.
It depends what you're measuring, right? Like, work provides a certain kind of structure, and then from the structure and the things that we do through work, we get a certain amount of external validation, and maybe internal validation too, right? Like, there's a certain way that we can get supported by our surroundings when we do the things that are commonly validated, right? But at the same time, like, I need a job because I need to pay my bills. I need to eat, right? Like, I don't want to have a job, but I also don't want to starve, right? So like the what you're talking about is like and Mikey as well, like improvement in mental health and reduction in poverty. Like, these are really good things to measure a society by, right? Like, and they do come out of basic support for people in meeting their needs rather than compelling them to work. Like, if we change our outlook about what the society is supposed to provide for people and what is supposed to get from them as well, then like we can actually get to a place where the outcomes for people are much more positive across the board than they are at the moment.
You know what, in a weird way, I agree with both of you, but we have a new person at the table. Welcome to Talkaoke. This is the pop-up chat show. My name is Rona. This is the first time I'm doing it, so bear with me if I make any mistakes. What is your name, sir?
It's Raish.
Ishma?
Raish.
Raish. Welcome, Raish, everyone. This is Sophie, this is Arthur, this is Mikey, this is Brusha, Tom and Margot and Kim. And we lost one other person, didn't we? Oh, did he just? Okay, so Harry's going to come back after he makes a phone call. We're talking about to work or not to work. We're talking about universal basic income. What would you do if you had a universal basic income and you did not have to go to work? Would you work? Would you not work? I know what I would do, but I'm the host, so I have to stay neutral, but I work. I sing, I lead choirs, I facilitate, I love my work. I don't think I would feel happy without working, but Arthur, on the other hand, is saying we shouldn't have a society where people get that sort of derive that happiness from work and employment. We should derive our happiness from other things in life. What do you think?
Well, I think, in my opinion, for working relating to mental health in particular, it's better if not to work, because you already get money for necessities, and you will be able to focus on other things like creativity, stuff you want to do, and so I think it's mainly if you want to. If it's not necessary, then you don't have to work.
If it isn't necessary, then you don't have to work. What do we think about that? Kim, you're between jobs, and you're basically, you're feeling the pressure of being between jobs. What do we think, Tom?
I was just thinking about the family time, and I have a young family, and I'd be very interested to see how much it would change the dynamic of how I would look at spending time with my child. If I had 100% of my time to spend with my child, how will this change the family dynamic of how people spend time with family?
A family dynamic. Sophie, do you have an opinion on that? No opinion. Okay. So, more time with the family. Would that be a good thing or a bad thing? It really depends on how much you want to connect with your family. Familiarity can breed contempt. What do we think?
I mean, I think if people are not, for me, I don't really regard what I do as work because I enjoy it so much, and I just come every day, often on the weekends as well. Yeah, but then I don't have a family, probably because I'm just too busy doing this stuff. So I don't know. I probably, we do need to spend more time with family. We do need to spend more time with not just family, with friends and the people that we actually get on, because that's going back to the mental health thing. That's actually what keeps us in touch and feeling like we're doing something important.
Now, before you joined the table, we were talking about emotional outlets. We were talking about things that give us that pleasure and that release of our emotions. If we get really stressed, we go to the gym, we do some boxing, we do some dancing. In my case, I do singing for a living. This is what I do for a living, is singing. Apart from this is not what I'm doing for a living, but this is a trial thing that I'm doing tonight. But yeah, we all have emotional outlets, and if we had time to do those creative emotional outlets, but by having that universal basic income, it would increase our mental health. But what about if we do something that helps our mental health for work? If we do something that feels so good, it doesn't even feel like work. I was conducting my choirs today. I love conducting my choirs because it doesn't feel like work. It's just so enjoyable being able to drill singers into getting them to sing the song even better. That's my emotional outlet. What do we think about emotional outlets?
Well, I think boxing, in particular for me, is a good thing because it helps me with my mental health and any other related things I'm dealing with. So it's like a release. You practice with your peers, your people you enjoy being around, and you actually enjoy it. So I today's session I find particularly hard, but it just makes me want to come back for more because I know I'm gonna have a good workout, I'm gonna have a good sweat, and I'm gonna accomplish my goal.
Round of applause for that, definitely. We have a new person at the table as well, so we'll keep the applause going. And good evening, welcome to Talkaoke. This is the pop-up chat show. We're live on YouTube, and this is our pop-up We're not live on YouTube.
We're going on YouTube later.
Oh, we're going on YouTube later. This is my first day. This is the very first time I've ever done this, so I'm going to make mistakes. My name is Rhoda, I'm your hostess, and this is Arthur, and what's your name? Raish, and Mikey, and Prussia, and Tom, and Akbal, and Kim, and Sophie, and I have poor short-term memory, and Margot, and I have poor short-term memory, so if I forget your name, it's not personal. What is your name, please?
My name's Polly.
Polly, okay, Polly, everyone, welcome, Polly. We are talking about, we're talking about various things. We're talking about emotional outlets, and we're talking about whether our emotional outlet has to be in the form of employment, or whether we can have a universal basic income that would actually stop us from working because we'd have enough money to live on, and we don't have to work unless we want to work. But I personally want to work. Some people on the table want to work. Some people on the table don't want to work. I see some hands up. Oh. Polly, speak, please.
So I have my personal situation where I used to work. I'm now back on universal credit. But the reason I'm back on universal credit is because I am now a full-time carer for my mum, who is bedbound. Now, she lives in my house for the last 7 years. I live on the first floor. No lift. So she's like a prisoner in my home. Her mental health is deteriorating considerably. And I had to let go of my work because I had to be my mum's full-time carer. I'm also a single mum. I have 2 kids. And I do want to work because going to work is my sanity. It's my sanity away from home with all the business that I have to do, taking care of my mum, cooking, doing the household work, doing the shopping. It's so much stress. It's so much. It's overwhelming. So the basic, I heard you guys talking about universal credit. The basic universal credit doesn't get you nowhere. I live basically from paycheck to paycheck. I don't have anything to like save in between because the basic universal credit doesn't get you anywhere really. And then the mental health side of it is really bad because we don't get any support from the council, the OT, the GPs. Don't get that support that you need because, well, we're not receiving it. I can't speak for other people, but personally, we're not receiving that. And it's really difficult because my mum, like I said, she's been a prisoner in my home. And they haven't moved her, they haven't moved us. She hasn't seen outside for 7 years. So the answer for you, like, it can vary for different people for different reasons, but in my case, universal credit isn't enough. It really isn't enough at all.
I completely agree. Universal credit is definitely not enough. A universal basic income would be slightly different. It would be something you'd receive regardless of whether or not you were working. Oh, Kim is leaving. Do you want to give us a final thought?
No. Kim is staying.
Oh, you'll be back. Okay. Yeah. Okay, final thought.
I think basically universal basic income is going to be a good thing. That's my final.
Thank you very much for that. Okay, round of applause. Okay, what time is it, Margot?
It is this time.
Okay, I think it might be a good time for me to bid you leave and to say my final thoughts are I have enjoyed myself immensely this evening. Thank you very much for letting me host. And I'm going to get a bus and get myself back to Berkshire, which is where I live. I'm going to get a bus and then a train and then another train. But thank you very, very, very much. And I'm going to crawl on my hands and knees out of this table and leave you all to it. But it's been a great conversation, and thank you all so much for having me.
Thank you for being such a wonderful host. Are you okay? Yeah. Harry is going to have a go in the middle. Okay, I'm just gonna. Okay, just sit on the crack and spin around. Don't worry about the tins. Don't worry. Okay, let's have a huge round of applause for Harry.
Have your chat.
Okay.
Yep. Oh, hey, welcome. Crikey, I don't do this much. go have your chat. That's why I was like, oh, okay, fine. Sure. So what were we talking about? We were talking about universal basic income, correct? Anything moved on from there? Anybody want to catch me up? I was away for a couple of minutes calling my mum for her birthday. So why don't we go over here? Arthur, what were we chatting about?
We were chatting about the gap between people getting their needs met and where society is. So we were thinking like universal basic income is one way to get people's needs met at a material level, but we were also kind of talking about the issues around like work and the way it can help people feel fulfilled or feel oppressed. So it's like it kind of does both depending on who you are and what your situation is, what the work is that you've got access to.
Okay, interesting. Good catch up. So, do we have anybody? Oh no, people are still settling down. Okay, so does anybody have any kind of thoughts on that? Any other ways we could increase the baseline level of people?
I mean, I just want to go to the point about the work being oppressive or unoppressive. It's actually at Mozfest where you were, Harry. We had some young people around the table that just were passing by, and they were all, because when it was the people at Mozfest, older people that were doing really interesting jobs in, helping the world, they all were like, yeah, if I had all the money in the world, I'd still do the job that I was doing. But these young people were all saying, I hate my job, my managers are boop. And so it turned out that the thing that actually, whether people enjoyed their job or hated their job, was about their manager and was about being told to do things and not having any autonomy or sense of ability just to be themselves.
Hey, interesting. We have a point here.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, when I did have a manager, he was really stupid, and I hated him. Yeah, I now don't have a manager, so I work for myself. I'm my manager, and it works really well. I'm quite good. I'm a good manager. Given that I'm the only employee, it's great.
Can I just say? Sorry, you go. Yeah, managers. Well, I think sometimes when you're in the job and you're learning on it, and you know that you're doing good to whoever you're working with. If it's little people or big people or teenagers, whoever, you know that you're doing a brilliant job, and that bounces off to the people you're supporting. Managers. Well, I've had some bad managers in the past. Oh God, yeah. But let's not go there. But yeah. In yourself you're doing a good job. That's all that counts.
I wonder whether the hierarchy is wrong, in that I always felt when I did work, I worked in the NHS, that managers felt like they were my boss, and I always felt like I'm their boss. They should be facilitating my work as a clinician, not them telling me what I should be doing. And it's a weird kind of owner-employee type of relationship that exists within the public sector that shouldn't exist in the public sector at all. Should be quite the opposite.
It's interesting.
I'll go as far to say that holds outside the public sector as well, but it highlights to me that there's this perception of managers as being the problem. Like if you have a horrible manager, it can feel like that's the problem. They're the problem. And I just wonder whether maybe it has something to do with the structure that you're involved in, the job itself, whether you have agency independent of the manager, like whether the manager can limit your agency, but so can the company as a whole, or the organization that you're part of, and hey, the society that we're in as well. Like whether people get agency has to do with a lot more than just whether they've got a good manager or not.
That's an interesting one. I see someone maybe leaving. Do we want to get some closing thoughts from yourself?
I'm just saying no final thoughts, nothingness. No, I'm just joking. No, it was really, really great. And I wanted to say I'm usually very shy to speak when there are a lot of people, and somehow this is like a good vibe. And I felt encouraged to say a few things. So
Can we get
thank
some
you.
clarity on your name?
I don't think my name is so difficult. It's Gosia, Gosia. Gosia.
Hey, well, thank you, Gosha. I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. So we'll see you. And that's a very key point here. We are all here to be able to have an open environment to share our thoughts. I actually did not meet you earlier. What is your name, and how about you share some thoughts on the current topic?
Okay, my name is Rais, but regarding work, I think in working, especially for people like who suffer from mental health difficulties such as bipolar disorder, autism, schizophrenia, they might not be capable to actually work. If you understand what I'm saying, they need support. So universal credit, ESA, and PAP, this kind of benefits is essential for them to actually survive and make ends meet.
Yeah, and that's a really good way to bring the topic around. We were discussing earlier about disabilities and universal basic income and its kind of role in society. Does anybody have any more thoughts about that, or about managers yourself, or? I was. Okay, let's go to Margot first.
Thank you. I mean, yeah, that's why I'm just like a bit dubious about this whole kind of working and achieving goals, is because I think work can really be bad for people's mental health. I'm sorry if that's really simplifying the point, and maybe you've already discussed this, but yeah, I think there's some kind of like double standards about work and what it can be useful for, and I'd like to live in a world where, you know, people's mental health in general is good, and if work is contributing to being bad, or like not having a job or something is an issue, then I don't know, we just need to do things differently. I'll be very interested in, you know, maybe studying mental health and just kind of finding out how we can all contribute in a way that everybody's valued. Maybe, yeah.
Hey, Mikey, we've had a hand up. What's up?
No, I just think, you know, I think the whole work thing, obviously we started it, it's slightly my fault for talking about the economic side of why people are stupid in the first place, and we started talking about work for the next hour and a half. But, you know, it's this economic element, I think, really can be, obviously we live in an economic world where everything's about money all the time, but actually people, I believe, have got a desire to contribute, I think, and to actually contribute each in their own. I mean, this sounds a bit hippie, but I think everyone's got their own way to do it. And it's actually a failure of society if people are not contributing to find out that way that people can actually put into it. And it's more like a pot that people are putting into than something that people are taking out of. And actually, that's how people want to see it. But it's just not kind of articulated in that way because we just talk about economics all the time.
Okay, let's pass it over.
I mean, I know that I have to work, and my mental health suffers if I don't work. So, and I am quite flexible in my work. I don't have to work every day, but I do. I choose to, and I find, as I say, we had this experiment in 2020, and honestly, it was mind-numbingly boring not working. And as I say, I had the opportunity to do any number of creative things. I had paint at home, and I had, you know, books, pen and paper, all of this. Did I write a poem? No. Did I draw anything? No. Didn't even doodle. I would have during my normal day, I would have doodled. Didn't even do that during those few weeks. So I think work has something to do with that creative element, even if it is just doodling. You have to have something to keep you going. And it doesn't necessarily matter that it's a work thing or it's a creative thing or it's whatever. You've got to have something. And I just think your mental health does suffer if you don't have anything.
That's interesting. You know, I was going to turn around to both Sophie and Kim. I know we haven't heard much from you. So, how do you find the relation between work, mental health, and your own creative outlets? Shall we start with Kim?
Why not? Oh, let me think. Yes, well, I think it's about like having a routine, isn't it? You know, when you're not got a when you're not going out to work every day, you don't have a routine. You have to set up your own. So you wake up and you think, oh, okay, what am I doing today? You know, you look in the diary, there's nothing going on. Oh, okay, well maybe I could go to so and so. Oh no, you get outside the door. Oh no, I think I'll go so and so. Oh no, I think I might go so and so. So you can't really. Then you become even more undecisive than you normally are anyway, right? So that's not good because you can't make a bloody decision. So then you think, okay, no, I'll do this. Oh no, what I'll do, I'll sit down, I'll have a cup of tea, then I'll think about it. You know, and I've never been like that. So that's why I'm understanding my thinking pattern at the moment is a bit like, oh my God, who are you? I don't even recognise you. You know. So as you were saying, sorry, who are you? I was saying, oh, you know, we need a routine. We do need a routine for our mental health. We do need a routine. You know, whether it's getting up in the morning and painting, or getting up in the morning doing your clay pottery, either or. But I do find that creative arts do help.
Oh, no,
sorry,
go to Harry.
Sorry.
So I was first going to give Sophie a chance. Do you have any feedback, and we'll get back to you, Mikey? No? All happy? I'll ask after you finish the chips.
Easier question, like, what gets you out of bed in the morning, or do you feel like there's something you need to do every day, or something like that? You could ask that question.
Hey, Sophie, what gets you out of bed in the morning?
When I wake up, that's for the best thing, is waking up.
So is there a thing you particularly wake up for in the morning? Something which would make you wake up earlier or set alarms or anything like that?
Well, waking up in the morning is not my biggest thing, but if I am awake, I will get up. Especially like Tuesday, I had to get up early because I had to make sure myself I was ready, because going all the way to Anal for the funeral. But I was prepared for that about 4 weeks prior, and then having that weekend away give me the time to let it all work out what I've got to do when I have to face that heartache. That give me the thing to get me up that morning. Or other times, or other things. All depends.
Cool. Hey, Mikey, do you have any inputs?
Well, I mean, I was going to come back to where we were before. What we were talking about was Kim was talking about, having something to get up for. I was watching a YouTube video last night, funnily enough. We talk a lot about YouTube videos. It's about the demographic time bomb. And apparently, in 20, 30 years' time, there's just going to be mostly old people living in this country. And that means that no one's going to be able to be retired, because anyone that can still work is going to have to work, because there just won't be any young people to look after all the old people that are sick. And I was just watching this and thinking, great, that means I won't have to retire. That means I can work as long as I really want to, and I'll be appreciated. So I actually thought it was a good thing.
I think that's a great thing for some people. I mean, I can carry on working pretty much for as long as I want to. And Mikey, you can carry on working as long as you want to. But it's people that have to do something physical, something that is, is challenging on their bodies, that they don't have that luxury. They don't have, it's a bit echoey. They don't have the luxury of deciding what they want to do for after they retire, or when they retire, because they will have to retire at an earlier age than me. I just sit down all day. It's not as challenging. So I don't know what will happen. This demographic time bomb is an issue, a significant issue, because a few years ago there were 4 working people for every retired person. Now there are 3 working people for every retired person. Not too much time into the future, there'll be 2. Unless we can bring in millions of people from overseas, and that doesn't seem to be politically very, supported. I can't see how we're gonna, and even do millions of people want to come here?
To a country full of old people.
Yeah, well, yeah. There'll be more young people because of the immigrants, but it's going to be challenging to I suspect in 20, 30 years' time it will be really challenging to bring immigrants into the country, because every other country will be facing the same demographic issues. Certainly in Europe, in Asia, North America, etc.
Let's pass that on to Margot. Do you have a point about what was just being talked about, or anything from earlier?
I'm going to respond to this immediate bunch of comments, which is, the fact that people have to rethink their jobs. Let's say somebody's like a construction worker or whatever, and then they retire, but then they'll have to work as well. So what will they be doing and stuff? I think I've never thought of it like this, because I was mostly just fretting about, I don't have any children, I'm not planning any who's going to look after me when I'm old. But maybe there will be a way, there will be an active incentive for us to come up with better ways of utilizing or bringing out the best of people even when they are older. Maybe there's a different way in which people can contribute, and I think the sooner we start exploring those options, the better, because I think my parents, I think I'm doing subconsciously, or maybe now more consciously, I'm doing everything which is different to how my parents did their life. They felt like maybe they were sold this communist dream of leaving the countryside, going to a town and work in a factory because the working class is going to take over, so you better be in there, be part of that. And then just they fell into this routine, and then they were working all their lives, they didn't take any holidays or very infrequently. And I think I'm trying not to be too bound by a routine. My parents were not creative people. I'm not creative people. My mum isn't. They wouldn't consider that as something to genuinely do and be like, yeah, I'm creative and this is why. This needs to, I think her mind needs to be almost reprogrammed to think of herself as more than just this person that worked, produced children, and now she's useless. That's her mindset. I've served my purpose now. I'm lonely now, so that's it. And I think there's a great opportunity to change that. But yeah, it's just occurred to me. Maybe it's not that bad.
I was actually going to move around to this side of the table. So, any thoughts about the situation?
Yeah, I'll pick that up. I fully agree. I think some of it comes back to this distinction that work is not necessarily the same thing to different people. It sounds like to you it's about self-actualization and accomplishing something and doing something in the world, which is fantastic. Wonderful when people can have it that way, but for some people, work is about needing to get money to meet their material needs, and the work that they do is subservient to that economic function. And it's for those people where the retirement becomes a big issue, because at some point it's they're just going to be exploited their whole lives, right? It's work is exploitation. It's keeping them in a situation where they're always going to need to do more of it, and that is a horrific outcome for most people in their lives, and especially if they invest meaning into the activity that it doesn't actually provide them fulfillment, super twisted potentials there. But to break out of that, it's not possible for individuals to change that when the society is structured in such a way that the economic output will continue to increase as productivity increases, and the share of that productivity will going to workers is going to continue to diminish as it has been, and that's not sustainable. At some point we run out of people, and we run out of physical hours that can be exploited.
Very interesting points. Did you have any points you would like to raise, or?
Well, in relation to work, it depends on the person, is the circumstances they're in. For me, instance, I don't work because I suffer from mental health problems, and I think what I do to contribute to society is one of your points that one of you raised, is that I exercise, I do boxing, I work on my physical fitness so that I don't get unwell, like sick or something. So that will help contribute to my society by not getting unwell, and then the NHS will have probably better. Well, I don't know how to put this, but yeah, it will be best if you work on your fitness and your health.
Yeah, that's a very fair point, and like it is difficult to get these kinds of things out into words, and that's one of the reasons why we're here. We can all help each other. So I know, Arthur, you have a pressing point you want to raise.
No, like what he's saying about like focusing on physical health and like, but specifically you were talking about boxing, right? Like that happens at a gym, right? Like, and so it's a social activity as well. You're contributing to the activity of that gym by working on yourself. And it's like when we're able to do the things that meet our needs, but also in a social way where it's like contributing to a social context where other people are able to do that. Like there's value in that. It's not just like you're getting value from it because you're getting the exercise, but it's like it's this thing outside of you as well. And like yeah, and I have the same thing. Like the activities that I get the most out of are the ones where I know that other people are able to get something out of it as well when they participate. And that, yeah.
Margot, any further points?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just still thinking about this retirement, and it's just really sad the point that you made about people being kind of like caught in this loop and like it exploited to the like last moment of their lives. Because I mean, when Polly shared her story about, you know, like it seems pretty limiting to say the least. Your life is not your own. Your life is owned by the people that you care for. And I just cannot imagine being in a situation like this. I think that would just like literally break me. Sophie, you've got a point. But what I wanted to say is maybe we just need to rethink what the like shape of the retirement is, because, you know, I think we are quite fragmented as society, and particularly if you don't have your own children, it's like you're just gonna die alone or what. But maybe there's a better way. Maybe there's a way of, I don't know, creating some kind of like communal living where, you know, different generations look after each other. People are out there for each other, doing stuff together. So you help building those little communities. I'd be very interested in that. But anyone else?
Did I hear Margot say that Sophie had a point? Let's hear your point, Sophie.
I've got two. Oh, that's great. One is before my dad passed away, I was looking after him as an unpaid carer because they wouldn't allow it to be given out. So they brought in a specialised company, like a bureau, that could do that to help me with him. But since he's been gone, I've now got someone who's become my godmother, and she's in a wheelchair because she can't get back because she's got that disease, polio. And they wanted to find out if they could give me the allowance to help her, because I'm on my own benefit system regards to PIP situation. I can't get it. They won't allow me to have it. So she pays me in ways like if doing little jobs, odd jobs for her and stuff like that. It's better for me. I can still do things for her and still get a little bit what she puts away for me for our trip in October.
Yeah, and that's an interesting one about like how you're being stopped from doing something because of the benefit system and all of that. I know, Mikey.
I've got things of my own problems. I've got my own health problems as well. So they won't allow me to have the carer's money to pay to help for her. They won't allow it because we've already asked about it, and they said there's nothing we can do because I'm on health reasons myself, and because of that I can't have the carer's allowance. So they've come up with another solution. They've done it that way. So by saying, well, she said, well, what I can do then, instead of me having that allowance, she puts a little bit away, what goes into the kitty for the holiday coming up in October. That's a better, an easier solution. I still do.
But we don't really, do we? We don't really have freedom. I mean, we have freedom of speech, but we don't have freedom of life because we have to, you know, abide by all these rules and regulations.
Really. Interesting. I know you two had some points, so shall we start with Mikey?
Just hearing what Polly had to say, I just think why there's a woman there that's not left her house for 7 years because she's bedbound and on the first floor, and why to me that's that should be an emergency. I know we don't live in that world, and we've got to be realistic. But, as somebody that just gets around and goes on a bike, I think I'll go to France next week, done. And then there's other people that can't even get out of the house. And, I think we live in a bit of a messed up world when that isn't considered a bit more of a priority than just let's let her live there 7 years and probably the rest of her life without being able to get out because she's stuck up some stairs.
Yeah, okay, one quick point and then we'll move along.
Yeah, when I listened to that, I was quite horrified. There are many people that don't know the system unless they're in the system. So if you're going to work every day and you've got a lovely job and you're doing all the wonders of the world, that's great. But when you're stuck and you're relying on the system, they're not very should I say, forthcoming to tell you what you're entitled to. You have to find it out from other people, or you have to read it online, or you might think, oh, I wonder if I might be entitled to this, or oh, I wonder if there's this kind of service, which most of the time there isn't, but there might be some loophole somewhere that but if you don't have time because she's looking after 2 kids, she's looking after a mother, and she's looking after them, trying to keep her mental health going, so it's like, that's why where communities come in, you rely on your friends, you rely on the community, and you rely on people around to give you the information.
Cool, so I know you've been having a point you've been desperately wanting to raise, so it's your chance.
So this is all related to the kind of demographic thing as well, in that we have got an ageing population. They do need to be looked after at some point. Hopefully they don't. And they're going to be fine all up until the day they pop their clogs, but it's people do get but this is what I would love, to be able to walk down the road and just go. I don't want to be ill, or have these issues, but just to say, there's got to be solutions to this, in that I know. So, for example, in Singapore, they will give grants to people, their children or grandchildren, to live near their parents or grandparents, so that they undertake some of that care. And within this state, we have quite a lot of dependence on the state. The state is looking after people instead of their families looking after them. And I don't know. I personally think that there's going to have to be a mix, but there ought to be more facilities for family to be able to look after people. And yeah, I mean, multi-generational families used to be normal, and multi-generational households used to be normal, and it's become less and less normal. And maybe we need to think about going back to this kind of thing,
Cool, I think, Arthur, you have a point?
Yeah, for me, the question is, if family members are looking after family members, who's looking after the one who's caring, right? Like, how are they supported so that they have the time to, at some point, somebody needs an income, because we're stuck using money for housing, food, and clothing and such. And under the current system, not only is the state not actually caring for people, as we saw from Polly, but the economic circumstances are such that people no one within a family network potentially can draw enough of a salary to then be able to support. And that possibility, it used to be possible for one person to support a family off a teacher's salary. And that's totally impossible now. You can't do that. If you have 2 kids and a partner, you cannot support that family off one teacher's salary. It's the same for all professions. None of them provide the support necessary for people to actually look after each other.
That's an interesting point. Sophie, I know you wanting to say something.
Well, it is. Because before my uncle passed away, he had his family of network. Because on my side of the family, I've got a big family on my dad's side. What it was, when he went, there was 3 members of the family left because most of them have all gone. Because I went to the funeral on Tuesday, he's now gone, so there's now 2 members of the elder generation of my side of the family. We've got to support his widow as well as his grandson to keep them as a family. Because if we don't, then we're not classed as a decent family. Because I've discovered I've got a generation of 15 cousins in order of their year of birth. I found that out on Tuesday. So every year one of us was born, the following year the next person came out the following year. Work that one out.
That's a heck of a thing to just have figured out about your cousins.
I was told that on Tuesday by my one of the cousins on Tuesday, because she made the arrangements for the funeral, helped to organise the funeral. But I didn't know about it because one of my phones had packed up, and I got someone to check it for me, and that's when it came out. And then when I went to the funeral on Tuesday, they was all talking about it at the golf club, and they said, well, there's so many lines of generation of cousins. I'm one of 9 in that line. The youngest is 48. I'm now 51 on Tuesday next week, and then there's the line goes up. The oldest cousin is 60 and works in Canary Wharf.
Oh wow, that's very interesting to find out.
Their children as well, and they've got their children as well.
Okay.
I'm the only one without children, so I'm not married. I can't be bothered.
Hey, I think I saw some hands up over here.
So, to answer your point about affording to care for family, I mean, I don't know, a situation in London might be a little different. Outside of London, if you have a multi-generational family, the grandparents will have bought their house. They're living in the same house as the parents and then the grandchildren. There's no mortgage. There's no bills. The one set of bills. There's not million, 4 sets of bills or 3 sets of bills. And so if you can live far cheaper in the multi-generation thing.
Speaking about this birthday next Tuesday.
Birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Sophie. Happy birthday to you. Think of a wish. Yeah! Woo! Sorry, just a little interlude. 18 again. Sophie, any thoughts?
Any thoughts on your birthday?
Not really, no. Bound to be something.
Is it good to have a surprise of people celebrating the birthday?
Yeah.
Good.
That's good. And
Also, frankly, this is shocking to me. It's the first time I've ever seen the no singing rule broken at the Talkaoke table.
Oh, there's a no singing rule? Crikey, I was not informed of this. Oh, no. That required way too much money in the past. Hey. Yeah, so time for final thoughts. Why don't we go around the table? We'll start off over here with Sophie before they have a chance to cut the cake. Any final thoughts?
I can't, I'm not really sure, but I've had a pretty up and down week considering what I went through on Tuesday. And now I'm just going to try and let the rest of this week go and wait until what happens for next week, Tuesday when it comes. Because I'm supposed to have some friends coming down from Bolton.
Very nice. I hope that is a fun time for you. And good. Cool. Okay, Margot.
I really enjoyed tonight, so thank you everybody. I enjoyed the conversation about work, life, benefits, imagining better future, better retirement, and I'm looking forward to this cake.
Very nice, yes. I'm sure we're all looking forward to the cake. Okay, Kim, it's your turn.
Yes, I've enjoyed tonight. It's been a good, positive evening. Thank you.
Very good to hear, very good to hear. Okay, Mikey.
No, that's why I think I like the idea of imagining a better future. and I think it's really important. But I think the values of that future have to change, and I think there's been loads of great ideas about how that changes, in terms of like, you know, it's about caring for other people. It's about facilitating other people and enjoying things together.
That's good, and yeah, we're all here to help with that facilitation, and hopefully this is a good outlet. Any final thought?
Oh, can I just say, and fantastic goes in the middle from you today, so I just want to, that helps me see that brighter future, and from Rona as well, but she's gone now. So.
Yeah, you finally got me involved in Talkaoke, and now you have me sat in the middle. I'm usually always running around whenever they're doing it. Okay, final thoughts from yourself.
I think that I'd like to think that there's a brighter future for most people, including those that work and those that don't. I think a universal basic income hopefully will be something that can be achieved. Whether it will, I don't know, but hopefully we'll see.
Yeah, fingers crossed that we end up seeing that being a thing. Okay, we'll move around. Any final thoughts from yourself?
I enjoyed the session and I learned a lot. There's a lot of interesting points that has been made, and yeah, it was a good session.
Very good. And then finally, Arthur.
I also thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I haven't been to Talkaoke in an awfully long time, and it's been really lovely to chat with faces familiar and unfamiliar, and like, yeah, like it always gives me hope hearing the conversation, at least, like when people are willing to come to the table and just be like, oh, okay, let's listen to each other and like share what we're thinking, and like actually engaging with one another through it. It's like always really lovely.
Yeah, it is, and it's always good to be able to get everybody together. So, and very interesting seeing a talk from life, circle around through death. Then we got on to talking about the role of a bunch of different things, how to help disabled people with work, and then universal basic income, a bunch of stuff spoken about today. And hopefully they'll put this up on the YouTube.
Yeah, and if those people on YouTube, if you've watched to the end, that's incredible, because it's like 2 hours, more than 2 hours. But do write a comment. Tell us who you are and what you're thinking, whether you liked it or not. We'd love to hear from you. Even though we get a lot of really random comments on YouTube, it's got to be said. But nevertheless, we still appreciate them. So if you've got something to say, please do say it. We'd love to hear from you. And let's have another big cheer for Harry, a total natural in the middle of the table, totally at home in the hole.